go over Galloping Gertie. Tacoma Narrows Bridge.
Well, it's not Galloping Gertie anymore, right?
Hopefully not. What's that?
Well, how would we ever find such a cool location like this, you know?
Yeah.
So last night we spent the night at Hoodsport Winery in Hoodsport, Washington, which is around the peninsula?
Yes.
Yeah.
The peninsula of Washington is that little finger on the other side of Puget Sound. Everything's a peninsula, but we're in Puget Sound. Really. We're on the peninsula side of Puget Sound.
Yeah, and like right out beyond us is Hood Canal.
Hood Canal.
Yeah.
What we found out yesterday at this distillery, which we'll talk about in a minute, is the longest canal, the longest fjord in North America.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know we had any.
No, a fjord is something that's glacially created.
Yeah.
And this was made by glaciers.
Yeah, so that leads us into how we like to hear, and honestly, it is beautiful. The drive is beautiful. The area is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really nice. You can speak to how the driving to get here was. I think that was a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. We've been on 101 for about 20 miles to get up here.
Yeah.
And I would say the only thing with it being summertime is you come around a corner and there's people parked practically in the street, like as close as they can, trying to get to beach access, because the only beach access you can get is at state parks and things.
Yeah.
And there's a number of them, but and now that I know those signs come up, it means tons and tons of people.
Yeah, just go slow.
Because we're doing another like 40 miles up 101 when we leave here, so I'll know that. But and it's a little tight, but the nice thing is with a Class A towing a car is it's 35 to 45 miles per hour, which is kind of a sweet spot I'd like to stick in on a windy 2-lane road when I'm watching my edges, and you know, I'm about as wide as the lane is to begin with. So and then to finish out the driving, when you come into this one, if you're coming from the south, I mean, you're probably going to have to turn around anyway. If you're coming from the north, it's okay because you can pull right in front of the winery, you can check in. But if you've been here before and you know where you're going, I would say the next time, if we were to come here again, I would just come in, because the entrance is actually a little bit of a trailer park just to the south of the winery, like just to the south, 100 feet. And the entrance, you come up this gravel road, and then you got to be careful. I would disconnect the car anyway if you had one. But you got to come through. There's a pretty significant dip to get into this field that we're in right now, and we'll hopefully, I'm layering some drone footage on that right now, but there's a pretty significant little dip, and then the field itself is not incredibly level. In fact, we spent a long time trying to level the coach in this spot that we really liked, and we ended up having to move over, which is a little less efficient because we had 3 other neighbors here last night.
Yeah, we were trying to stay as far to the... What direction is that, west? Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to stay as far to the west as possible to leave room for the other people that were parked here, because there were 4 people parked here overnight. But as it turns out, doing that had us at an angle, and like when we leveled it, we had what, like 3 tires off the ground at one point. So we were like, nope, this is not happening.
I know you can do that.
Yeah,
technically, but I just wasn't comfortable with it.
We just weren't comfortable with it. So we moved over what, like 6 feet,
something
and
like that,
got to a much more level spot.
Yeah.
And then where the other vehicles were parked, it's clearly much more level. They were all smaller than us, so I think it was a little bit easier for them to maneuver over there. So if you're in a big rig, I would say stay on the western side of the patch, but not too far over, because you'll get into unlevel ground.
Plus, I wanted to park for an easy exit, assuming there was going to be other vehicles here when we were exiting. Turns out everybody's already left because we're not that much of a hurry, but if there were other vehicles here and I was over on the edge, I didn't want to have to be able to swing wide and make an 85-point turn to get around them in order to get the exit to this, because the exit, I'm assuming, is going to be a little bit worse than the entrance because I don't have as much room to play with on the road. So I'm going to have to turn way early and hit that thing, and it's going to be, because, you know, when I was able to come in, I was able to take it as wide as I wanted coming in because I'm in the field. But now I'm going to have to do the reverse of that, take it wide in the field, and then narrow out onto the street. So, well, let's get to the winery.
Yeah, so we have our products here.
Yeah, these were purchased at the winery, and they're more fruit wines here, although they did have some other wines here too at the outlet. They had some Willamette Valley wines. And
they did, and they had like the Sky River mead too. But, but when we go to a winery, we're interested in tasting
their stuff,
what they had, and we weren't allowed to actually taste because we're still in COVID times right now. We got a couple sweet ones, and then they also had these ciders too. Which actually, I don't believe the ciders are made by that winery. It looks like they say Eagle Mount.
It says Eagle Mount Winery.
Yeah.
Yeah. But either way.
But these two are by
it's nearby. It says Port Townsend, Washington.
Yeah, it's all clearly very local and close by. So, but I was super excited to try cider because, you know, cider is delicious, and in the summertime it's a perfect, nice, cool drink. And this was on the sweeter end of the spectrum, he said. So we got the cherry. Oh, it's cherry mead, actually.
Yeah.
I thought I got cider. Well, whatever. I'm sure it'll be great, whatever.
It's basically a honey cherry cider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's in one of these, so it must be carbonated.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing I like. Maybe this is common. I don't buy this kind of stuff very often, but you can pop the top off, but then it's got the stopper here to put it, which is called a...
I don't know.
From an archaeological standpoint, I believe they're called Hutchinson stoppers.
Oh, nerd.
Yeah, totally.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then we got these two wines. We got a blackberry. That was your pick, right?
Yeah.
And then this one is called Fat Bottom Girl. And it's another sweet one. I don't remember what he said about it, but the description was... intriguing. So
we actually haven't tried any yet. No, we put them in to get them cold, and then we just never had them last night. So maybe we'll talk about them later. But
and all of this together cost us $100. So seriously, Harvest House cost us more than.
Wait, these three cost us $100.
Yeah, these three.
Okay, so that's another thing. These guys.
This stuff is so good. It's so hard to say no.
In my experience, fruit wines are typically a little cheaper, but these were like $40 a bottle, and because we got 3 bottles, we hit their 20% discount rate. But then we went into town, which is a mile up the road to the north.
Yeah, and that is another big selling point of this spot because you can go into Hoodsport so easily, especially if you have a tow vehicle. It's a very small little town, so maneuvering around in a larger, even like a van or a Class C would be difficult. I definitely recommend parking it here.
There's a market. If you can park at the market, maybe.
Yeah. But the other place we discovered, we went to this distillery, the Hardware Distillery Co. So cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. They had good COVID restrictions too.
And the guy was so knowledgeable. He clearly is just so into like the chemical process of making the liquors, and he just knew so much. And we tried a bunch, and we came away with these 3. Chris said we were only going to get 2, and then when he turned around, added the 3rd one in because I just had to have it. And how much did all that cost us?
$100 again. I also said we were only going to get 2 of these, and before I knew it, she's adding a 3rd one.
Oh, it's so good though. I love this small batch locally made stuff. You just can't.
It doesn't get more small and local than this because he said that this is bottled right where we were. They bottle it, they distill it, do everything right there.
Yeah, all the distillery equipment was behind them in this old, it's called the Hardware Distillery Co. because it was an old hardware shop, and they had pictures of the old shop and everything. It's really a cool area.
Yeah, and it was really neat because they only sell them, he said here, and I think 1 or 2 other places in town sells their bottles, and he says some of the Total Wines in Washington sell them, but not even like beyond that.
Yeah.
So Total Wine, you might be able to get it if you buy it online through Total Wine. I don't really know.
Depends on the shipping rules with liquor.
Yeah,
and all
who knows?
Stuff, so,
but he was really knowledgeable. A lot of really cool stuff. We got this. It's called Aquavit with dill, and it doesn't even really, it's like, it's in the gin family, I think.
Scandinavian.
It's Scandinavian, yeah. There's a lot of Scandinavian influence with all this stuff. And then this one that we actually tried last night, that's why it's got a little out of it, is basically this one, but barrel aged. So they age it for a year in barrels, and that's where you get the typical brown color.
I've never had liquor that is distilled with dill. And it is just the most delicious flavor ever.
Really good.
It is so crazy how good it is. And this one was the third one that I threw in that I just had to have. It's another liquor that they don't have a specific name for because it doesn't fall into the category of rum or tequila or vodka or whatever. So they just call it distilled spirits, and it's bee's knees raspberry. And the reason I liked it so much is because the raspberry flavor, it's not raspberry flavor, it's like essence of raspberry comes through so strongly, and it's just so delicious. So
yeah, it's really good.
We really, in fact, honestly, like I probably would have just gotten one of these, and
we didn't know about this place.
Many more of these had
totally.
I known the breakdown, but we didn't know it was there. So
yeah, no,
anyway,
I think we're gonna like these though.
We're happy to support everybody.
I just watched a Class A go by on 101 without stopping here. Bad mistake. So yeah, check it out. It's a great little harvest host, and it can probably support. Like I said, there were 4 rigs in here last night. I think that's probably the limit, unless you really pack them in. If you're really conserved, you can probably get 5 or 6 in here.
Smaller ones. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Check it out.
Yeah, we liked it a lot for sure.
Bit of a spice.
I mean, it's afternoon, right?
So we're biking on the, what we think is called the Cascade Trail. Don't quite remember. But it's one of those old rail trails. It used to be a railroad more likely. And it's a, what, 20-mile long trail?
Yeah, I think 22.
Yeah, we are staying at a harvest host called Eagle Haven Winery outside Sedro Wooley, Washington. The trail goes east to Concrete following Highway 20. And Highway 20 is part of the Cascade Loop. So if you can ever drive Highway 20, you should do it. I've never done it in an RV, so I don't know how good it is. But anyway, we thought we would review the harvest host last night before we head out this morning for our next 1,000 Trails campground.
Yeah, it's so great to have this trail here, because I think something we're finding is the struggle is ways to get exercise easily while living on the road like this. But to have a long biking or even running trail right outside your door is really amazing. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. And I grew up with rail trails basically in Washington. I don't know where they really started, people ripping up tracks to make trails, but I remember the first charity I ever donated to as a human being was when we were in when I was in the Navy, and the thing I donated to was the Rails to Trails Conservancy, and that's what they did was they used that money to convert old railroad tracks to trails, which is really great. So anyway, so let's get to our rating system for this and try not to die, because I'm holding a freaking selfie stick while trying to bike.
First thing on our list is the goods for sale at this harvest host. Now this is a winery, and it's also an orchard, it looks like, because we're parked right between lines of apple trees. So as you can imagine, most of their wines are fruit wines. And for that reason, we gave it a 4, because fruit wines tend to be very sweet and they don't appeal to everybody. So if you're coming to a harvest host and of course you plan to patronize it, just be prepared to purchase some fruit wines. They had a couple other reds and I think some whites, but they clearly specialize in fruit wine. And we thought they were delicious, so we bought 2 bottles and we're happy about that.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I love fruit wines, I love sweeter wines, and one of the nice things about the raspberry that we tried and bought a bottle of was it's not crazy sweet. I mean, it was pretty sweet, but it had that tartness to it like jam. Yeah. And it was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed the raspberry as well. And we bought an apple, which we had to get an apple because we're parked next to apple trees. Yeah, and I never really think about this with wineries. I mean, my naive sort of thinking is that, you know, they grow everything they make into wine, but of course they don't. And they list on their different wines that they just make here the sources for them. And the sources are all local. You know, they're different grapes and different other fruits and things like that. Like the raspberries, I think, came from Mount Vernon, which isn't that far away. And so it was cool getting the apple wine, which we still haven't tried, because it's an estate wine. The apples were grown right, I mean, basically right next to where we're parked.
Yeah.
And then we got the wine.
Yep.
So that was super cool. Yeah.
So the next category is the site, and that would be how level it is, how accessible it is. And we rated that a 4. And since you were driving the rig, I will let you go ahead and explain that rating.
Yeah, we're about as wide as you can and still be legal because we're in a Class A motorhome. And we were towing the car, we didn't disconnect the car. So I'm telling you, if you're coming in from the main road, then take the second turn into this place, not the one that looks like the first turn, because I had to make kind of a wide turn with that, a sharp turn with that motorhome. And it's a little narrow, it's a little bumpy, but it's not that bad. I was able to turn around in the grassy area where we're parked. We leveled the first time without even trying again, which was really nice.
No blocks needed or anything.
Yeah, no blocks or anything. So yeah, I think the rating's accurate. If it were a little more smooth and things like that, then we'd give it a higher rating, but it's pretty good for most vehicles. So we're gonna take a little break here from the biking because holding the selfie stick and biking is not working out. Wildlife and scenery.
It's beautiful. So we gave it a 5.
Yeah, it's very pastoral.
Yeah, there's like a mountain and you're surrounded by apple trees. It's really beautiful. So I definitely recommend it for views and such.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty. Not so much wildlife, but there's a lot of farm animals around. Oh, and those like horned things we passed on the way in. Like I think maybe
like yaks or whatever they are.
Yaks or muskox maybe, something.
I don't know.
Yeah. Connectivity, we gave that a 4. It could be a little bit better, but it was, we only have signal, so.
We only checked AT&T.
Yeah.
We were able to stream last night. We watched a thing for like an hour and it was good.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it was good. Never even slowed down. So it was only 1 or 2 bars of AT&T, but it seemed good enough, LTE. So didn't check Verizon.
Yep. And then the availability, we're gonna go ahead and give that a 5 because it's a huge grassy parking area, 2 huge grassy parking areas. And I can't imagine why they would ever turn anybody away. They just simply don't need to. They've got plenty of space and yeah, it's a cool area.
Yeah.
So that gives our total of 22 out of 25. Definitely highly recommend it.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, beautiful place.
So I would say one thing as far as goods and services go, they have an Apple store that apparently was closed.
Oh yeah, that would be really nice.
Yeah, and it's not an Apple store in the way of like Apple products, but it is Apple products. Yeah. Just real Apple products.
Real apples. So, and they look delicious.
So definitely check it out if you're up in this area. It's about 10 miles off the interstate, so if you're not into a 20-mile round trip, don't do it, but it's totally worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
So. So, all right.
You're gonna cut that out.